number of guests that are a part of that. And if you're interested, I'm sure she would love to answer any questions about it, and so would others as well. But like I said, Marci has been in the industry for quite some time. She is very active with NAA. She's a NAA EI facilitator. She has her own business, Marci's Leadership Solutions, which is a new venture that she just started up. She's starting to, I'm sure, take on associations and companies and things in the industry to just level up your game when it comes to things that she's really passionate about and teaching on, which I'm really excited to learn about today as well. But before we get there, I'm Evan Happel. Like I said, I'm the host. I'm with Community Boss. We have some great solutions when it comes to managing the physical aspects of your community, whether it's your parking, your amenities, your mapping. We have some great software that makes managing no headache, just makes it awesome. Get some great value added to your asset by charging for guest parking, charging for some amenities. Also just making it an awesome way to acclimate people to the community through our mapping solution. So if you have any questions, by all means, reach out. You can also visit our website, communityboss.com, to learn more. But today we are talking to Marci, so let's bring her to the show. Hey, Marci, thanks for being here.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Yes. And there's so many people that were like, you need to talk to Marci. So it was just a matter of time that you became a guest because it was going to happen.
Well, because I talk a lot and they're like, let's filter Marci's voice somewhere because she likes to talk.
Oh, well, if we're trying to filter, this is the wrong place because this is live and you're going to say whatever you want at this point.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I want to just comment on Vanessa. So a while back, we were putting together a session for Apartmentalized that didn't get picked up. We're a little sad about it, but the group decided that that is kind of a term in the Black community that you're an auntie when you reach a certain age and people will show you some respect. So all it meant was that I'm old now, but she likes to call me Auntie Marci now.
But it's out of respect. That means you have things to offer. It's not just an age-related thing.
Yeah, no, it's definitely respectful.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, she's great, and she's up for, she's up for an award, nominated. Yeah. So rooting for her. But there's some others that have been on the show too. So I'm conflicted, who's gonna win? Ashia Shepherd, and then also Monica Frazier.
Monica Frazier, who is the founder of Melanin and Multifamily, by the way. I'd like to give her her props. So.
Absolutely. And she will be a guest later this year. So excited to have her later as well. But again, Marci, thank you for being here. Thank you for people that are joining us. It always takes a minute for people to jump on. That's why we start with the fun warm-up questions, But as we get started, I like to ask just a few questions around community, coffee, and what's your favorite things to make for guests, hospitality, when you have them over. So first question, if you were building community, whether it's professionally or personally, how do you go about it?
How do you build community? Well, I'm just going to take a page out of Monica Frazier's book because she did create a community within the multifamily space for Melanin and Multifamily. And I think that one of the things I've seen her do is create open, safe spaces. And, building community comes from, I believe, trust, engagement, common ideals. So I think, you take some time and go, who's moving in the same direction I'm moving? Who do I trust to move in that direction with me? And where do we see ourselves going? I think, there's a lot of ways to do that, and supporting others. You can't build community by yourself. You have to not just trust others, but bring others with you. And I think that group in particular, and multifamily as an industry, has done a great job of finding those, people have lots of mentors and mentees. They find people to pattern their careers after. And then they also, as an industry, I think a lot of people turn around and go, who can I bring with me on this journey?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you're right. That group is a great example of a way to see a need and say, "Hey, I need support. I need people to give me encouragement and to model how to get up the ladder and be successful in the industry." And I think it's only awesome, just awesome that you guys found each other in the capacities you have. And I hope it only grows and more people join your group. And I'll help as much as I can spreading the word about it. So
Allies are always a good thing.
yeah. So I'll be an ally as long as you want me to be.
Sounds good.
I'll do my best. I'll be a good ally. But yeah, so that's great. Is there any other ways? That's a pretty big one. That's a good one. So.
I mean, I think, yeah. I mean, there's other ways. I know people who are actually, they do that for a living. I just know how to be in a community. I know how to do what I'm asked to do. I know how to follow. I know how to lead. So that I just do what I know to do naturally. But I know there are community engagement people that it's their job and their profession and they're really good at it. And I like to get behind those folks.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of work. It's kind of, you got to be a connector and kind of be the glue that bring it all together. So some people call those like people of peace, kind of the person that everybody knows, and they like reach into communities and they naturally bring people together. So
yeah,
it's always great. And Monica definitely seems to be one of those.
For sure.
All right, next question. So if you were going to have somebody over for dinner and just bring about the hospitality and love on your guest, what would you make them?
Reservations.
There we go. That's the first reservations.
Yeah, no. So Evan, I love to have people over to my home. And I love visitors. Right now, actually, one of my childhood friends is here visiting right now this week. And then my son's graduation is in 2 weeks. So I have one of my other best friends is coming to visit next week, and my sister's coming to visit. I love to have people over, but I get anxiety when it comes to planning food or events for them. So I'm not my best friend is an event planner and she is amazing. Shout out to Sweet Plans. She is helping with my son's graduation as well. But
Nice.
That is not my strength. I'm a doer. I'm an operations type person. So if you give me like, I need ABC executed, I can execute ABC. But if you need to come up with a plan and figure it out, which includes feeding people and entertaining people, it gives me anxiety. It's not my strength. So I can make you some reservations. If you tell me what you like to do, I'll get us there.
Nice. Perfect. Yeah, you're the first reservations answer. That's good.
I don't cook. Nobody wants my food, Evan. No one wants my food.
I think people are misconstruing when I ask what are you going to make for them that you need to be like gourmet chef. But I can understand if it brings anxiety to even think up like what are we going to make, then yeah, you're just going to order something.
Yeah, for sure.
So what would you order?
Oh, well, I'm gonna ask them what they want. My favorite food is sushi, or I like Chinese food, but sushi's my go-to. So if they also like sushi, then we're good. But I will say, last night we decided not to go out to eat, and I made a gluten-free lasagna that actually went over really well in my house. So I'm kind of proud of myself.
All right. Yeah, gluten-free lasagna. Now, gluten-free stuff has come a long way.
Yeah,
because
I couldn't tell.
Yeah, it used to be terrible.
Some cardboard in between your sauce.
Gosh.
No, I couldn't tell. Like, I actually fed it. My son's a pickier eater than me. And I said, I made lasagna, and I didn't say anything else because it'll be in his head if I tell him. So he ate it and he was like, oh, this is good. I'm like, it's gluten-free.
Perfect. Is there a reason? Are you supposed to stay away from gluten?
No, my guest who's here visiting me is gluten-free. So I said, let me try. I can make a lasagna. There's some dishes I can put together. I don't say I can make them because I really just put together some ingredients that already exist.
Yeah.
So she's gluten free. So I said, let me just replace the noodles and then we're good to
There you
go.
go.
And it worked out
Nice.
well.
Perfect. Well, good job. See, you did that.
Well, Evan, cheese is the answer.
Cheese is the answer. Let's quote that. Cheese is the
Yeah,
answer.
whatever the question is, the answer is cheese.
Nice. I do like cheese. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
Cheese is good. Cheese is a good thing. Well, great. Now, final question, and this relates to something that is really a part of our culture up here in the Northwest, and that's coffee. So, if you were going to make yourself a cup of coffee, or get a cup of coffee, you don't have to make it, because there is no cap on expense on this cup of coffee. What would you get? What's your go-to?
Oh, so interesting enough, I was made in Tacoma, Washington. So I started my way from the Northwest. So I love a good cup of coffee. And this is what I do spend some time in. I really love to buy my own coffee beans and I
Okay.
grind them and I put them in a little container and then I put them in a little Keurig and make one cup at a time.
Yeah, that's what I do.
So I love a good cup of coffee with my friend Naomi calls it dessert coffee. I'm not quite that far into the creamer that she is, but I do like a little caramel vanilla creamer,
Okay.
one stevia, and the perfect like coffee. Like if you start off with a good coffee, that's amazing. So I like to get I live in South Florida now, so I'll like to get coffee from Cuba or Jamaica or Colombia, and we've got that easily available here. So
nice. So yeah, do you have you have a lot of stores probably that are geared towards Cubans, Jamaicans being in Florida. So they probably have things that are straight from those countries. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. We do have some jokesters. First of all, Kendra said cheese is good on everything, which I think within reason. I guess there's like creamy cheeses, right? Like that. I mean, cream cheese, right? So then Marcus, he thinks, cheese coffee, maybe.
I can have some cheese and then drink a cup of coffee. I'm not opposed.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd put the cheese in my coffee.
No, not in the coffee, but they can go together.
Although now it makes me wonder if you put cream cheese in your coffee, what's that gonna,
Evan, you try that out and let me know how it goes.
I'll let everybody know. I'll try anything once. Just one time.
Evan, I want to warn you because I know we're live. I've got a thunderstorm brewing outside my house right now. If I cut out, I'll jump back on from my phone. So just wanted to warn you. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think that happened to one of my other guests actually from Florida. Yeah, because it's thunder o'clock there, isn't it? 3 to 4 o'clock.
That time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like clockwork.
Yeah.
It's that time of year. Oh gosh. Well, I hope it doesn't strike your house or anything. Yesterday
I got awfully close. And the electricity went off, so that's why I mentioned it.
Jeez, that's crazy. I hope that does not happen.
Me too. Good thoughts.
Yes, and somebody did bring up, and it is a thing. I am going to send you coffee. We have our own blend of coffee called Boss Blend, and so it's a little perk of being on the show. You're going to get that. You'll get another one of these Boss chains and then a mug as well. So
wow.
Yes.
The right house for that.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. All right. So we got through the 3 questions. Thanks for answering and participating. Thanks for everybody that's joined. We have a little bit of a quorum of people they're chiming in the chat. Love to see that. And Marci, if you're not seeing it, be sure to can click the comments button so that you can also see all the people chiming in. So it's fun. All right. So Marci, like we've established, you've been in the industry 29 years. You're currently an asset manager. Your company that you're currently working for, I'm missing it on my piece of paper. You can just say it. Who do you work for?
I'm the VP of Asset Management for HRG Management's Asset Management with our 3 whole assets right now.
Hey, but nonetheless, asset management is a world I obviously know nothing about. Um, and I'm sure, how long have you been in asset management specifically?
Oh, let's see, 9 months.
Oh, okay. So you're still
Listen,
learning a lot. You're still
yeah,
learning a
I'm
lot.
a fake asset manager, Evan. Let's just call it what it is. It's my title, but I haven't yet learned all that I need to learn. I'm working on that. So, I've been really on the property management side of things my whole career. I was fortunate to get an opportunity. The owner of my company decided to sell a lot of the assets, and the last three that we have wasn't a large enough uh, not enough properties to manage in-house any longer. It wasn't cost effective. So he asked me to take over his asset management. He was my asset manager at another company about 10, 11 years ago. And so he promised he would teach me everything I needed to know. And, I'm awfully blessed for this opportunity because I don't have the background, the education for it, and he's going to teach it to me. So I feel great because there's not a lot of female asset managers and definitely not a lot of female people of color asset managers. So trying to learn all I can so I can represent well.
Yeah. Well, it's awesome. It's a great opportunity. And I mean, you can, once we get, I heard the thunder. Once we get, another year out, we'll have you back and we'll have you chime in on all the things you've learned.
Okay, good deal. Sounds good.
But then alternatively, you have a rich history in the industry, property management and all the things. And you're applying that to a business you started, which is Marci's Leadership Solutions. And that's coming out of you taking the NAEI facilitator training, right? And how long did you do that?
So just for clarification, it's French's Leadership Solutions is the name of
French's.
the company. Yes.
Okay, sorry.
So yeah, French's Leadership Solutions, and then I took. Ooh, that thunder's loud. So I did to take what was known as AIT back in like 2014, Advanced Instructor Training
Okay.
with Rich George, who I see is with us right now, Doug Chasick, and Sue Weston. Back in Denver, where I used to live, I took that course. And then about a year ago, I was invited to join the senior faculty with Rich and Doug. So now I teach what is now advanced facilitator training. So between doing that as well as teaching courses for the affiliates, and then in 2020, a lot of folks started reaching out to me for leadership and diversity, equity, and inclusion training. I was also at the time, I think it was maybe the year before, I became vice chair of the DEI committee for NAA, and then I chaired last year. This year it's chaired by Kara House, another amazing leader working through multifamily. So between all of that kind of coming together, it became just natural for me to start facilitating on DEI and leadership topics. And it took a life of its own. I had no interest whatsoever in being a business owner, an entrepreneur, none of that. And so I'll say, with the help of Melissa D. White, I'm just going to keep shouting people out. Melissa D. White, she has assisted me in building my business, which took off a little faster than I was prepared for. So I had to kind of dial it back a little bit the last month or two, but coming out Q4 ready to go. So if you need a facilitator, I teach CAM, I teach DEI, I teach leadership, I'm a keynote speaker, and I got you.
Nice. So you discovered there's a great need, is what you're saying.
Evan.
Well, you know what? That's a great problem. You jumped in and it got a little overwhelming, but that just means, okay, I can make this into something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Might have
been
to.
great.
Well, that's great. So are you having to travel around or yeah?
Yeah, I'm home right now. This weekend next, my son has prom this weekend, and then he's graduating high school the weekend after. So I've been
Awesome.
home, get to be home for 2 weeks. But before this, I've been on the road so many weeks in a row, I lost count. So I've been doing some facilitation at different education conferences and some women's conferences. A shout out to the folks in Charlotte and South Carolina. I've been out to the Texas Apartment Association, Cincinnati. They've been amazing hosts. So I'm grateful for their support.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm really glad for you that it has been a good move. Again, maybe some adjustments here and there, but nonetheless, that's really great to hear. I know that jumping into that specific, especially DE and I, you personally had a journey that like led you to that a little bit, right? Where there's a lot of like, and we have it in here, discovering your personal identity. Like late in your life, there's a lot of things that you were like, wait.
Yeah. I usually tell the full story there, depending on what class I'm teaching. I give a Reader's Digest version. I've got the long version, but the nutshell version is I have 3 dads. I was born to the father who raised me. My mom is Caucasian or white, depending on what term you want to use. And then she had me as a teenager. My dad, who's raised me, has blonde hair and blue eyes, and everybody was shocked to see me when I was born. So no one was expecting me to look like this when I was born. So my dad, who obviously, because he's blonde and blue-eyed, was not my biological father, raised me. So we found what we thought was my biological father at 16, and I grew up my whole life believing I was Puerto Rican, and then Japanese. I'm sorry, it's so loud, the thunder. Puerto Rican and Japanese. And then when I was almost 40 years old, I found out that person was not my biological father. And I met my actual biological father, who is just Black, African American, whatever you want to call it. And so I have 3 dads. I have 5 sisters and a brother, 2 kids and an ex-husband. If you've heard me speak, I tell that story. But yeah, so I'm half Black, half white, grew up believing I was Latina for 40 years. My children are members of the LGBTQIA+ community. I'm from a small town where no one looks like me. My ex-husband's from a small town where everybody looks like him. So there's so much diversity and representation inside my immediate family that it just really did become a natural course for me to teach on.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, especially in the last few years, you've just had a bombardment of like an awakening of parts of yourself that you didn't even know about. I mean, what was that like to hear that news? And like your identity was like, I don't know if shook is the right word, but like
Yeah.
a little bit, right?
No, it was, I had a whole identity crisis twice because one, growing up in a small town, looking the way I look, but then finding out I wasn't even who I thought I was. I was a full-grown adult in a midlife crisis time frame. So, but you know what? I've always been really grateful for my story, even though it is a little bit turbulent. I just feel like it's given me so many opportunities and open doors to connect with people from so many different places.
Yeah.
I feel like I have opportunities to connect literally anywhere. Like I've never met a stranger. I will meet somebody. It's what made this industry so easy when I started off as a leasing person, because I was able to connect with literally anybody who walked through the door. And I am thankful for my background because that's what allowed it. So, yeah, a little bit of an identity crisis, but grateful for the story and for the path, because I wouldn't be here with you today having this conversation otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. And at what stage in that did you come across the group that you've joined, Melanin Multifamily?
Well, I've been with them since the beginning. I have the absolute honor of being the one that was assigned to Monica Frazier as her mentor for the DLP program, the Diversity Leadership Program.
Okay.
And she would work out her ideas in some of our meetings, and I have been literally her biggest fan. I know a lot of people are here right now who think they're her biggest fan, but I promise you, no one's her biggest fan but me. I'm the biggest. So she, I got to watch her come up with the idea, put it together, and be a sounding board sometimes. And so when she she made it official, I was one of the first people in a group of a lot of women who adore her to sign up and say, what do you need from me? What can I do? How can I, support your vision? And even to this day, if she has, something she needs from me, I do the best I can to give it to her.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And one thing I want to point out is Monica Frazier, where's she based out of? First of all, I forget.
She's in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, that's right. She's currently an on-site manager, right? I'm correct in that. I met her recently because she is going to be on the show. She kept being talked about, and I was like, I got to talk to Monica.
Yeah.
But what I think is awesome is she saw a need and she just went after it. She didn't wait for somebody to be like, to create it, I guess. And that's great that she had you as a mentor as well, though.
Yeah, I think is what's special about this next generation of young women coming up, and specifically because I'm a Black woman, this next generation of Black women coming up, because they don't really wait for permission. That is something that I didn't have that boldness. As loud and as outspoken as I am, I didn't have the same boldness. So when I think about the Monicas and the Aishias and the Danas and the Tais and the Karas and Monique, there's other people. I don't want anybody to feel like I left them out. But when I think about those women and how they maneuver their career and their need to be seen and heard and be authentic in our industry, it inspires me and gives me life in a way that I can't even describe. So I'm grateful for them because they're paving now a path for the next generation. I think about my daughter who's just decided yesterday that she was going to join this industry, and she's 25.
Oh, wow.
Years old. Yeah, she's 25. Okay. And now she has people like them blazing paths for her. So it brings me joy to watch all of this happening very full circle.
That's awesome. And at 25, she's been around you her whole life. what all of a sudden, did she see and you know what? I think this is the path.
Well, she grew up, I was a single mom by the time she was 9 and her brother was 2. And they spent lots of time in my clubhouses because I didn't have a babysitter on a Saturday and had to go into the property getting threatened, like, don't speak, don't say anything, be on your best behavior. She's been around the industry, her entire life. I started before she was born. So she had no interest and was like, don't talk to me about it. I don't want to do it. I'm seriously not interested. And then yesterday, I think some things happened at her job where she said, I didn't have to put up with this. And you're thriving and growing. And I've watched you for all my life. I think I have the right personality for this. Will you connect me? And she knows for her to ask me, she has to be serious because my reputation means everything to me in this industry. And I've worked really hard because I don't have a college degree and she does. So I think she waited until she knew she could commit to it in a real way. It's not going to just be like a job that gets her from A to B or a summer job. But if she wants it to be a career choice, then I would help her. So she's jumping in, she's filling out some applications. And by the way, if you're listening to this and you are in South Florida and you need a leasing consultant, I know a girl.
Awesome. Yeah, hook her up. Give her some interviews. That'd be awesome.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. Well, I can totally understand that if she was around it and had an initial oh gosh, Mom, I don't want to be in the same industry I grew up around and all this, but then realizing, oh wait, it's a good job.
We're not doing so bad over here, right? She's living a pretty cush life right now. So
right.
I'm like, you can move out.
Yes, go get that job. That's true. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Well, awesome. That's great to hear that she's that become a aha moment. Bring her into the multifamily family. So that's great. Sure. Well, she knows what she's getting into at least.
Yeah, true. She won't be surprised.
Yeah, that's good. All right. So anything else you want to add to that? I guess that topic of just identity, and maybe something you've learned from that, that people that are in a place of self-discovery, identity finding, around the even the topic of DEI, how that plays out, and even in your workplace and professional life.
It's still an evolution for me. All those young ladies I mentioned earlier, they continue to teach me about what it means to show up authentic in the workspace. And I'll give you an example. I have a very conservative, I use that word carefully, conservative view of what professional would be in the workplace, right? Because I'm old school. I've been doing this 29 years. In a training I did recently, I talked about how, when I started in the industry, if you wore a skirt, you had to wear pantyhose, nylons. A lot of folks were like, what's that? They've never enjoyed that very special hell. So the world has evolved, right? My daughter, as an example, she has tattoos on her arm in a place that where if she wore a short sleeve shirt, you would be able to see it. That would be a no-no when I started. Like, you had to cover all your tattoos. You couldn't have them. It had to be, you have to be very neutral. So this has been an evolution for me, because the young ladies that I surround myself with have taught me not only the importance of showing up authentic, but that professional doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to fit in this little box, right? It's different for different people. An example again of that is, for my daughter and I both, our hair. When I started in the industry, if I was getting a professional picture taken or showing up for an interview, I would always blow out my hair so it was straight and it looked very non-exciting. I have very crazy curly hair. My daughter, she wears braids a lot in her hair, and she's a military reservist. And when she started as a reservist, they weren't allowed to wear braids. During her time inside of being an Air Force reservist, they allowed it. And that gave her a place where she can show up, not only just with protective hairstyles for convenience sake, but to be who she really is. So I appreciate all the things I've learned. I'm going to show up different and apartmentalize. I'm excited to come and be more relaxed, but be professional, to be more authentic, to show my personality, because quite honestly, the younger generation has given me permission to do that and has shown me the way. So I think it's important for those of us who've been around a long time to not run around with, we've always done it this way and this is what is accepted, but to open eyes and ears, to be open for evolution, because it'll leave us behind. This industry will leave us behind if we don't.
Yeah. And that's good that maybe the young people have opened up the door to a change, right? I think if anything, what we've noticed, and I've seen this in other industries too, where it used to be that you had to have a professional uniform, even like at certain jobs. And it's like, they realized the people they're talking to, whether it be prospective residents or in retail customers, that they don't care.
Yeah.
That it doesn't like make them rent or not rent or buy or not buy. Right. Because now don't be sloppy. Obviously.
Right. I was just going to say, there are levels to this.
There's a level. Totally a level.
Like, I want folks comfortable, but I also want the person who's coming in as a customer or a client or a resident to believe that you're in charge and know what you're talking about, right?
Yes,
so I want folks to present like, I know what I'm doing and I'm the person who runs the show, right?
Right. No, it needs to be professional but comfortable, and then know your audience too, like your market.
Yes. Know your audience and your market.
What I find interesting is so many communities are associating their dress to the brand of the community, which is also based on like the demographic of the community. So they're just making it all, their brand book and all that kind of stuff goes together. So it's very interesting how it's kind of evolved.
Yeah, that's fun if you work for a community that has that in the budget to be able to do that. I worked for a company for a year that did a lot of student housing, and they had so much fun with that. Each community on the student side of the company, they would really dress the part the branding of their community, and it was really fun for them.
Mhm.
I was on the market rate boring side, but it was something that we did incorporate in our branding too as we were taking over some
Yeah.
communities. So it can be done, and it's it is. Yes, Ty, you want to know your audience because everything isn't for everybody and
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. And maybe Ty will actually outfit everyone. So Ty, if you
Listen,
need
if Ty could come to my house and dress me, I would not be mad.
to I'm with you there, actually. I am not a fashion, not my thing. Nope.
Right. She is
I just
definitely one of the industry's best dressed for sure.
yes, yes. And I'll get to see it live and in person at NAA, which I'm excited about to meet all you folks that I've been able to talk to over the last year. So that'll be a lot of fun. That will definitely be a lot of fun. All right. So when it comes to the workplace and being creative when it comes to including people, what are ways that you've seen be successful in that?
Including people like, how do
Like
you mean?
inclusiveness and
Mm. Um, Again, I think it's about thinking outside of the box.
mhm,
I get calls sometimes, folks go, I want to create a DEI committee as an example,
mhm,
at my affiliate or my company. Or somebody will say, how do I diversify the company itself?
yeah,
And I think there's so many ways to think outside of the box to include people.
mhm,
From the way we just do it from an HR perspective, sometimes there are accommodations or modifications that can be made in a workplace so that people are included that you wouldn't normally think could be
right,
included, but also not doing it the way we've always done it and looking in the same places we've always looked. Listen, one of the ways that we get new team members or employees at our organizations are through employee referrals. Well, if all the employees represent a specific demographic, whatever that might be,
mhm,
and you ask them for a referral, the chances of getting someone just like that person is probably more likely. So
oh
we
yeah,
do that because it's an easy way to staff
oh yeah,
sometimes
super easy,
our communities or our companies. But going somewhere we hadn't considered. I used to love when I do site visits when I was a regional manager. If I was at a restaurant or at a mall or something, and I saw somebody who gave me really great service, I would leave them my business card and say, if you're interested in a career change, here's the benefits to working in property management versus where you're at now. There's no weekends, depending on my company, we were closed on the weekends. You have to work at night, you get your holidays off. Like I would go through those things. If you're interested, give me a call and I'll get you an interview. So that was a way for me to find people that were different and
yeah,
different. So many different things. It's not
right,
just one specific thing. That was a way to to be more inclusive.
right,
Not always say no. Um, I was just on a meeting before this one, and I was talking about somebody who applied for a job. It was the very last person I interviewed, but I don't have team members now, and no one works for me. But he had made a request when he joined. The schedule didn't work great for him to practice his religious beliefs. He had a service he wanted to go to, and he was a member of an organization that I had not heard of. And he educated me a little bit on what his beliefs were, his spiritual practice, his religious practices. And we were able to accommodate a schedule change for him, which was really slight. It was a very
mhm,
little thing so that he could go to his place of worship. So I just think there's ways for us to not just be like, it's this, either you like it or you don't.
right, right. Well, that's good. Yeah, that's a good example, I think, to kind of get outside of what's easiest. I think that's the biggest thing. Don't have such a narrow mindset as like, okay, I set the job parameters and
Mm,
I need to fill this quickly. So I'm gonna ask what our current workforce, hey, referrals. Outside of that, not gonna really put any effort in. And then these are the job duties, the tasks, and if they can't be met exactly, then there's no way. Like I think, everybody's going to have a slight thing that gets in the way. Somebody that's a single mom, right? Like there's obviously going to be things that get complicated sometimes when it comes to like, I got to do something with my kid. I don't, you know.
Well, I've had that come up quite a bit. And as a single mom, I can empathize with that.
Right.
Daycares like to close right at 6 o'clock. Our properties, our communities like to close right at 6 o'clock. So, a single mom without a support system, that can be troubling, right? That can be difficult. And you're trying to work a job and take care of your family, but now have the stress of how do I get my children because I need to be a mom, right? So there's ways, and we definitely get stuck. And I've been one of those people that's stuck in, well, everybody else, we have to follow the same rules for every person's to be fair. And we've got fair housing laws, we've got EOC laws, like we got to do the same thing for everybody. Boop, 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 boop. And we don't.
Yeah. There's certain things, yes, but I think
there are ways to make accommodations,
but I think being accommodating is being is meeting fair housing, right? To a degree, as long as you're doing it for everybody.
Right. Yeah. Be accommodating for everybody. That's how you
exactly. You just can't pick and choose who you're accommodating for.
I love that, Rich. Accommodating is motivating. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it lets people really feel like, oh, I can be my full self, and not be stressed out about these slight details that my employer doesn't like.
Yeah. Right.
So no, that's good. I think we have a ways to go with some of this kind of stuff, but I think at least it's a topic that is opened up and we're learning like, what does it mean? And I think some people get really scared about these topics. But I think sometimes that's preemptive of learning about it. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It doesn't have to be scary. I think, people, if they spent a little bit more time empathizing, and Brene Brown talks about empathy, if we would listen to people's stories, and I'm paraphrasing, and believe them for how they experience it instead of how we imagine it, empathy would go so much further. We're always trying to take people's stories and experiences through the filter of our own experiences. But if we would just spend time believing them for how they experience it, just that straight shot, I think humanity in general would probably do a little better.
Yeah. I think you're right. And part of that is, one of the ways I've always liked building community is to put myself into situations that are a little uncomfortable, be around people that don't look just like me. And my wife actually taught me something really great. She is actually, she's biracial. She is half Mexican, half white. But she's in the she works in social work.
Okay.
And one of the things they talk about in her work is just viewing each person as an individual, not as a person that is a representative of a people group. Because just because that person in front of you is Black or white or Asian or whatever does not mean they're like the greater group.
Yeah.
You have to get to know that person to actually know who they are.
Yeah, that's reminding us that any one group is not monolithic. And that, the whole idea of stereotypes, that there are people who fit groups that aren't part of a stereotype. So surrounding yourself or exposing yourself to the anti-stereotype of any group, or realizing that any one group is not monolithic, that just because I am this means I am that. It is, I love that frame of thought. My friend that's here visiting right now also did about 20 years in social work as well, and is a special education teacher for preschool. And I've learned a great deal listening to her experiences with the children and parents she's worked with. So I love that she shares that with folks.
Yeah. And not to say that that's easy, because stereotypes creep in, right?
Sure.
I know that Ty, she's teaching some classes on, I forget, I'm blanking on what it's called now. Ty, chime in when just about
probably unconscious bias.
Unconscious bias, things like that. Like you meet somebody and you just take in these things. And I think part of it, our brains do it because we think we're like it thinks it's helping.
Mhm.
It thinks it's like helping you like stay alive. That's just like the caveman like in us, right? Like it thinks it's helping us to not die, basically.
But it's all of that is based on our experiences, right? Everyone has a bias. It's based on your experience. I have bias, you have bias. It's based on how we were brought up, our belief
Right.
system, the geography we live in now. It's all of those things play into it. So a
Yeah.
great movie that I think plays it out visually, I refer to people, if you haven't seen it, it's older, is the movie Crash with Sandra Bullock. And
Okay.
it's a really good movie that you kind of watch her navigate her own biases. And
Hmm.
it's kind of deep. And sometimes the stereotype she has is completely unfounded. And sometimes they play out exactly like her bias or her stereotyping would expect. So,
Right.
and it doubles down, right? So what that does is make her go, see, I knew it. But the movie is deep. And if your viewers or listeners have not seen it, I highly recommend it.
And that was Crash.
Crash. Probably
Okay.
from the 90s. It's an older movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I'll have to watch it.
Check it
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing on these topics and sharing about yourself and just the journey you have gone or walked, I guess.
out.
Because again, we all are individuals in this life, and we all have stories. And that's really the point of Boss Talks, is to learn each person's story, why they're a boss, why they're killing it at what they're doing, but also like find out a little bit about what drives them and makes them who they are. So I really appreciate you being on the show today, Marci.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. Well, today it's been a great show. Really appreciated Marci being here and all the people that have participated in the audience. We do have a question, so I don't want to cut off. Let's see here. Leah Love.
I love Leah.
Me too. See, okay, Leah was a guest like early on when I was still doing this on Instagram. Very crude, didn't know what I was doing, still working on how to do this. Not a professional yet, guys, but it's been a lot of fun in this last year to do this. But yeah, she's been awesome. And she just wants to know, how do you stay sane in all your travels?
Uh, yeah, I do have a couple of things I do. So Leah and I, by the way, fun fact, we're COVID friends. We've never met in real life. I'm hoping our paths cross eventually, but we did a Clubhouse was like a new social media
Oh, yeah,
thing.
yeah.
We did a panel together on Thursdays and had a great time, but I adore her. She's good people. And no one loves Entrada more than Leah Love. I just
This
like
is true. This is true.
we had lots of conversations about that.
Yeah.
So how do I keep sane? A couple things I do. One, I stay in the same time zone. So in my career, I've had to travel to all 4 time zones on a regular basis. And I always lived in the East Coast time zone. So I always stayed in it. So if I was traveling at a property in Vegas, I left the property at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because that was 6 o'clock at home. And I was in bed no later than 8 or 9 o'clock at night. People might think I'm crazy because it's Vegas, but I didn't participate in any of the shenanigans that happened in that city. So I stayed on East Coast time all the time, and I still do that to this day. So that's one trick. 2, if I park at the airport, I always park in the same area so I don't have to remember where to find my car. I create habits for myself. I also always am home on the weekends, no matter what's going on. Every once in a while, I break that rule, or if I'm doing fun travel in between work travel, then I'll go somewhere fun on the weekend. But I try never to stay at a work thing over the weekend. And then I have the items that I pack all the time, like my hair products and my toiletry type stuff. I always keep them ready to go because every once in a while I've had an emergency at a community where I've had to leave that day or in that morning. And so all I have to do is throw in some, I call them onesies, the one-piece clothing. I can roll them up, throw them in my suitcase and go. So those are my tricks.
That's funny. Well, hey, you gotta, being that I don't travel a lot, and I just went to a conference a month ago in Texas, TAA one.
Yeah. How did we not see each other, Evan?
I don't know. I think you were busy, but we are going to see each other at NAA. It has to happen. So I was exhausted. And that was one thing. And I hadn't traveled for work the entire year up to that point. So I sympathize for the people that are doing this on a regular basis because it is tiring. It's not like, and to your point, like you've learned to not do the shenanigans at night because you'll be that much more tired.
Yeah. Now, compartmentalize, I will shenanigate.
Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I will be on the shenanigans. The girls make fun of me, like, is Marci going to be able to stay up long enough to hang out with us? Well, since we're in East Coast time for apartmentalize, I should be good. I always make fun of Greg Sorbana, who's from the Northwest.
Yeah, I know Greg.
We always, he's on Pacific time and I'm on East Coast. So we would make fun of him because we'd be certain places and he'd be ready to go to sleep, or he'd be not wanting to get up for a meeting at 6 o'clock in the morning. He's like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning at home. So like, okay, we're going to have some, like you say, sympathy or empathy for people who are in a different time zone.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to be exhausted by the end of NAA. Oh, yeah.
For sure. I'm always tired at the end.
It'll be fun, though. I'm actually really excited about this year. We have our first event as a company where we're doing a brunch. We're not competing with all the parties at night. I'll just go participate and have fun at those. But we are doing a brunch, and we have a booth at the trade show floor as well. And we have some fun activities, including Boss Talks will be in our booth. So stop by. 2951, I believe, is our booth number. So check us out, Community Boss, and Boss Talks will be representing. Get your boss bling at the booth. Wear it proudly. All the good stuff. But again, thank you, Marci, for being on the show today. Just like she jumped in and so many others on this chain of audience participation have jumped in and been a part of Boss Talks. I'd love to have you as a guest. So if you're interested, reach out to me. I'd love to talk and learn why you're a boss, just like Marci. So till next time, next Wednesday, it's been Boss Talks, and I'll see you then.